on YouTube Live as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our special Earth Day program. We have the dynamic Dr. Rusty Lowe going to be bringing a wonderful presentation to you all. But before we get started, do we have another family that's willing to be promoted to a panelist so you could play our game that we have designated? Our first family is the awesome Ashley and Dash Patrick. They're going to be our first host family. And so do we have another family that would like to be the opponent of Ashley and Dash? And please let us know by putting in the chat box so we can promote you to panelists. Do you have any takers? And if not, that's quite all right. I will be the other person if no one is promoted to a panelist. And so that's quite all right. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Well, again, guys, hello and welcome to the LPI special Earth Day program. We call it VEEPS, Virtual Exploration Experiences for Planetary Scientists. And today, our title presentation is Playing Hide and Seek with Mosquito Babies. We have the awesome Dr. Rusty Lowe. She is a senior scientist at the Institute of Global Environmental Strategies in Arlington, Virginia. She is the lead scientist for NASA's Globe Observer Mosquito Habitat Mapper, a citizen science tool that allows anyone, anywhere to identify, report, and mitigate mosquito breeding sites on the landscape. Without further ado, I would like to bring Dr. Rusty Lowe.
Thank you very much, Ms. Webb. And if you want to change the slide, that would be great.
You know what? I made a mistake, excuse me, and I apologize. But you know what? I had a first poll question. I almost forgot. I wanted to launch our very first poll question at this time. Before we get started, if we will. Christine, could we launch our first poll question? First poll question, everyone. Have you ever been bitten by a mosquito? Dash, have you ever been bitten by a mosquito? I don't know if Dash could answer because he's a panelist.
He said a lot.
A lot. Oh, okay. We're gonna get down to.
We're gonna go ahead and put all the time.
All the time. Okay. I don't know if you can answer, but all right. Well, thank you all for participating in our poll question. Dr. Lowe, go ahead.
Wow, it looks like a lot of people have been bitten a lot by mosquitoes. And so if that's the case, I'm hoping that you're going to want to play hide and seek with me with mosquito babies, because this is one way that we can make sure that we're not bitten quite so much. So today we're going to be talking about looking for the larvae of mosquitoes. And those are the babies. And they live in water. They live in aquatic habitats. And where they live might surprise you. So let's take the next slide, and I'm going to show you a little bit more. We do this work using something called Globe Observer. This is a citizen science app. It's completely free. You can download it in your app store. And you just download that, you register, and then you can collect data that NASA scientists like myself will use in our research. And also with mosquitoes, it will be also information that's going to be important for your community, as you'll see later. So let's go to the next slide, and I'm going to show you, this is what, on that Globe Observer platform, there are 4 tools, and you can monitor clouds, you can monitor land cover, the height of trees, or mosquitoes. And so we're going to be talking today about that mosquito tool. So let's go to the next slide, and I'm going to show you here that you can be a citizen scientist. When you're a citizen scientist, what you're doing is you're being very generous with your knowledge, with your experience, and by taking the time to making observation to make the world a better place. And using the Mosquito Habitat Mapper, what we're asking people to do is to find and report and destroy breeding sites of mosquitoes. And what that means is if you find a container that has water in it and that water is not being used for a special purpose, maybe it's a swing that's gotten some water in it because of the rain, we ask you to tip that out because that's one less place that mosquitoes can actually raise their young. And when you do this, you're protecting your community from diseases and you're promoting environmental justice because any place that this is happening, you're protecting the whole community, even in communities where there isn't a lot of municipal support. Most of the rural US, for instance, doesn't have mosquito control agencies. So this is really important. And here's the important thing, that some mosquitoes, not all, most of them not, but some of them can carry dangerous diseases that you might have heard of, like West Nile virus. But I want you to know that the babies that we're going to be looking at do not bite and they do not cause disease. So they're perfectly safe to look at. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please.
Before we go into the next slide, let's launch that second poll question. The second poll question that's coming up is, which mosquito bites us? So we're gonna like get the investigation on which one of those mosquitoes is really biting Dash. Go ahead and answer that for me. Which mosquito bites us?
All mosquitoes. You think all mosquitoes?
All mosquitoes? Okay. Okay, that's a very nice guess. Very nice guess. Would you like for me to move on to the next slide, Dr. Love?
Well, I'd like to know the answer to that question. So a lot of people think it's female mosquitoes, and that is correct. It may seem like all mosquitoes bite because they're biting so often, but in fact, it's the mom mosquitoes that bite. All mosquitoes, actually, the food that they eat is plant nectar, right? So they like to eat the juices from plants. But the female mosquitoes need a blood meal. They need that protein so that they can develop their eggs. And that's why female mosquitoes bite. Okay, thank you for that poll.
Wow.
All right, so let's go to the next slide. And I'm going to show you what mosquito mappers from around the world have done. This is a map that just shows all the different places that we have citizen scientists like yourselves using the app, saying where they found mosquitoes and uploading it to our database. And so you can see we are all over the world and we want your observation. And later on, we can talk a little bit more about how you can look at this data, but let's go on to the next one, please. All right, so I love this. This is from a book that a friend of mine wrote called Zine, and it is the story of three very personable mosquitoes, Heather, Maurice, and Wanda. And they right here, we're looking at their baby book, and they're saying, I used to look so different. You used to look like me. She used to be so cute. But if you know about the development of insects, you know that they go through 4 stages. They start out as an egg, and when they hatch, they become a larva. And then as they become an adolescent or a teenager, they become a pupa. And then the pupa turns into an adult. And the first 3 stages, eggs, larva, and pupa, all happen in water. But when they become adults, where do you find them? In the air, right? So that's the life cycle of a mosquito. Next one. So you may have seen, have you ever seen these? This is what baby mosquitoes look like. And what you see here is that they actually, people call them wigglers because they have a very characteristic way that they sort of swim, going back and forth and back and forth. And they are macroscopic, so you can see them just with your own eye. They're about, I'm thinking maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of a centimeter long. So that's what we're looking for. These are the little guys that are playing hide and seek with us today. Here's a picture close up using a microscope. So you can see that they have that real characteristic wiggling style. You can see the head, the thorax, and the abdomen, the 3 parts. You can see that at the very end, some of them have a breathing tube, which we call a siphon, and they use that to breathe air. So those are the critters that we're looking for. Let's take another slide, please.
Okay, and before that, we have one more poll. We have another poll question to give Dash and all the rest of our kiddos that are in our audience. Can we let launch the second poll question.
Ready?
So mosquitoes start as an egg, grow into babies, which is also called a larva, then bigger, a pupa, then an adult. Which one can make us sick? Which one can make us sick? All of them? Just the baby larva? Just the adult mosquitoes? Or none of them? Which one do you choose?
You think none of them would make you sick? Mm-hmm. What about when they bite you? Okay. Maybe when they're like adults? Mm-hmm. Right? So let's try that. You put just the adult mosquitoes. Let's see.
All right, results. Thank you, Christine.
So that is a really good, looks like more than half of the people know that it's the adult mosquitoes that bite and make you sick. The rest of them are still in the water and they are harmless to people. But I'm really glad that we're thinking about these questions because these are questions that most people don't know the answers to. So thank you for your observations today. So mosquito moms, like all moms, really care about their babies, and they will try and find places that they think that their offspring are going to be safe during the period that they're developing. And what they are looking for is especially the kinds of mosquitoes that cause the diseases that we're worried about. They like to find containers that they feel are dark and in the shade and are safe from predators. So these are the kind of this is why it's hide and seek. You never know where you're going to find them. These two girls on the left found some in a discarded tire. These two men are looking in a drainage, in a sewer. You can even find them in the bottom of empty trash cans or in a cup or a bottle that's just laying by the side of the road. We have found them in tire tracks or in buckets, in plant pots, and even in a bottle cap. Now that would only happen if there isn't much water around and the mom is kind of desperate. But it is a real hide and seek to try and find some of these places. Okay. I think it's time now for us to play this game. And the objective of this game is for you to become familiar with the places that mosquito babies play hide and seek. And so we're going to play bingo. Go on, Miss Webb, and tell us how this is going to happen.
All right, awesome. All right, so Ashley and Dash, you're going to be playing against me. Which color would you like to use, red or blue?
Red.
Red. Okay, then I'll take blue. Would you like to be team 1 or team 2?
One or two. One or two? Two.
Okay, then I'll be team 1 with a blue marker. And so Dr. Lowe is going to give a description, right, Dr. Lowe? And then we will have to cross out the object in which she described.
Right. And I think that people at home also, we'd like you to choose a team too, so that you can play along. Maybe you're sitting with your brother and one of you can be team 1 and one can be team 2, and we'll find out who wins.
Right. So basically we're just Ashley and Dash are team captains. So if you want to be on my team, you're going to choose team 1. If you want to be on Ashley and Dash team, you're going to choose team 2. And we're going to have you to keep up with your own scores. All right. Are we ready?
We're ready. And we're going to start with that tire that those two girls found. This is a place where lots of mosquitoes like to be found. It's dark. Water can pool inside that tire. Mm-hmm. So if you have a tire on your card, go ahead and put an X.
Okay.
All right.
Get mine.
Okay. And Ms. Webb, just go ahead and go to the next one, please.
Okay. I think I have to stop annotate for me to advance. That's quite all right.
Okay, great. So another place is, now if you live in a tropical area, you could have coconuts. If you are by the seashore, you could have shells. These are all places that have depressions where water can be found. But there are also lots of other things like walnut husks, different kinds of natural containers that mosquitoes find. So if you have natural containers on your board, go ahead and mark it.
All right.
Go ahead. So you press right here. Okay, draw next on it. Good.
And here's a fun fact. Where do you think mosquitoes used to lay their eggs before people were making containers? Because mosquitoes have been around for millions of years, right? And the answer is there are these natural containers, things like tree holes, things like these natural husks. And of course, there's a whole bunch of mosquitoes that use natural water bodies. And we'll probably run into some of those next. So let's look at the next one. Okay, if you have an animal outside and you leave water for it, that's absolutely fine because it takes about 5 days for a mosquito to develop. But if you leave that water out there for a week or two, it could become a habitat. So if you have an animal dish or a trough for your horses or your cows, that's going to be another habitat. See if you have that on your card. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one. You know, just about anything can be a mosquito habitat. That is why it's hide and seek. So if you find like a tarp on the ground where there's water, you know, a lot of times construction sites, they have tarps over equipment. Those depressions are habitats. Same with bottles and jugs and different kinds of things that you find in the trash. So if you've got trash, mark it. All right, let's go to the next one. Public works. There should be a better word for this, but you know, sometimes you might find on buildings, there might be little depressions or architectural features or bridges, gutters. All of these things are places where mosquitoes like to find habitats. So go ahead, and if you've got a public work on your chart, go ahead and mark it now. Now, this is something you will not see unless you build, but if you're interested in learning more about mosquitoes and actually looking at them up close, you can build a mosquito trap. And at the end of this presentation, we can show you how to build a mosquito trap that's perfectly safe so that you can trap the babies, but the adults won't come out. But this is a mosquito trap. So if you have a mosquito trap on your card, please mark it. Okay, this is the same thing. Sometimes this is what scientists use. They call them ovi traps. Ovi means eggs, right? So this is an egg trap, but you might know this as a stadium cup or a drinking cup that you might use out on the playground or at a park. Those are also great traps, especially if they're black, because they love that dark, safe place. So if you've got one of those, go ahead and mark it. And I also mentioned that mosquitoes are also, there's different kinds of mosquitoes. There's floodwater mosquitoes, there's salt marsh mosquitoes, different kinds of mosquitoes that also inhabit our natural environments. And you may find them just living in or around a lake or a pond. So if you have a lake or a pond on your card, go ahead and mark it. Okay, some people are getting close to having a bingo. Okay.
I would love it if everyone would write down in the chat which team they're on. Are you on team 1 or team 2, everyone that's playing with us? So that way we know how many of you are on team 1 and how many of you are on team 2.
Great. Perfect.
I think we have lost our ability to annotate. Let me try one more time.
Then you're going to have to keep a track in your head, which is just a little bit harder, right? So
you know, I'm gonna change my color to red so you can you can be like that. Yeah. All right.
Okay, great. Okay, hollows and plants. You know what's really funny is there are mosquitoes that are specialized that like to live in just little places in a plant where there's a little hollow, and that's a really safe place because there's no predators, and also organic material falls in it, and they have something to eat. So that's a really interesting place to try and play hide and seek with these mosquito babies. Okay, for you guys that are out in rural areas, you might have a stock tank. And this is a stock tank where you might have water out there for your animals. If you have that on your card, please make an X. Wow, this game is going on for a long time.
Yeah, you see it. Nice.
Okay, we already did lake or pond. Let's go to the next one.
That
Mosquito egg. So mosquito eggs. Does anybody have mosquito eggs?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Ooh, it looks like
Ooh,
team
and I
one
think we have a bingo.
There you
Bingo,
go.
bingo.
Y'all got it.
Yeah, so team one won the game with bingo, and team two only needs one more to have a bingo too. But I want to thank you so much for playing this, and I hope by playing this game, when you go outside, you'll think about these different places that we find our mosquito babies.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really
think of.
really interesting. So would you like to go ahead through the slides, Ms. Webb, and get us to the next slide that's not part of the game?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
And we have another game that's coming up too, just to let everybody know. So
Yes. All right, there we go. And I'm gonna see if I can clear out our
X's,
drawings
yeah.
here.
But here the thing is, I wanted to say that we're all winners. If you become a
Absolutely.
citizen scientist and you go and you see mosquitoes on the landscape, and seeing means getting rid of mosquitoes, it means learning about mosquitoes, all those things. So this is part of that fun magazine that you can download that I have at the end of this project. This is a Zika-zine. And here is a girl who is actually going to make an observation, and she's going to sample the mosquitoes. So the two mosquitoes here, I think that's Wanda and Maurice, and Wanda's saying, who is she? And then Maurice says, she's a citizen scientist. And we already defined citizen scientists as people who are generous with their time and generous with their knowledge and share that knowledge to everyone. And that's what a citizen science is. So here are the baby mosquitoes. They're going, oh my gosh, what's going on? And some of them get sucked up by that turkey baster. And they're saying, where are we? Where are we? And the mom is worried, my eggs are in that tire. And the citizen scientist then takes a picture of that habitat, and she's going to provide that data to Globe observers so we know more about where and when we find mosquitoes. Okay. I'm going to show you two ways that you can actually do this. One is you can use the Mosquito Habitat Mapper app. And what it does is it allows you to, you remember you saw all these pictures in the game. You can, like when I go visit my sister, she lives in Maryland. And when I visit her, she's got a bird bath. And every time I visit her in the summer, there are mosquito larvae in that bird bath. And I keep telling her, don't use this bird bath. You've got mosquitoes in there. And she says, well, I want to, it's like, yeah, but you hate the mosquitoes. So anyway, that's a really good place to look. So you could either report your data using this app, or you could just print out a piece of paper and you can walk around and you can make some observations about the date and whether or not it's raining, and if you saw any mosquitoes, adult mosquitoes, and then where you found the mosquitoes. And it has all the different things listed here by words that you can see in the app with pictures. So there's two ways that you can do this as a family or as a class project. So I hope we'll get some information from you. Next one, please. All right. This is the question people always ask me. NASA makes sense because they study space. They study Earth from space. It makes sense at looking at clouds, but can you see mosquitoes from space? Why does NASA want to know about mosquitoes, right? Next one. And in fact, mosquitoes themselves worry about this too, because here's Hester saying, what are you worrying, Maurice? And he says, haven't you heard, Miss Hester? NASA is interested in mosquitoes like us. I want to be the first mosquito in the mosquito astronaut program. Do you think such a thing exists? Well, here we go. Let's see what NASA cares. So NASA says, you can't see mosquitoes from space, but what NASA's Earth observing mission does is they are always constantly monitoring the environment, where it's wet, where there's a lot of humidity, where there's precipitation, where there's rain, where there are trees with lots of canopy cover. Mosquitoes like warm and moist environments in the shade. And this is what we can see. We can see a lot of these features from satellites. And so that is the NASA connection. And so here, that mosquito, Hester has to explain that to Maurice. NASA is interested in those warm and moist places, and they can see that on satellite images that they create. No, there is no mosquito space program. And no, Maurice, I'm sorry, you will never be an astronaut. Poor Maurice. Although every one of you could potentially become an astronaut, and you can fulfill that dream for Maurice. Okay, next one. So here is the most important message of today's talk. You make the connection between mosquitoes and space. If you make mosquito habitat mapper observations, if you use the Globe Observer, there's also a tool called Land Cover, and they ask you to take pictures up, down, north, south, east, and west. And then those data can be compared with satellite data, and you will begin to understand about those kinds of things.
So while we're waiting for Dr. Lowe to come right back, just to let everyone know, we're going to be playing a true or false game in just a few minutes. And to play it, we would love it if you would open up the chat box that you have. So that way, when we play that game, you can enter. We want to see everyone participating and entering T or F, true or false, when we play that game, just to let you know if you don't have your chat box open already.
Yes, and Christine, I think this is a perfect time to launch our third poll question. All right, mosquitoes can be dangerous because they can pass along diseases. Do you know, or do most mosquitoes make us sick? No, only a few types of mosquitoes? Yes, most types of mosquitoes? Or yes, all female mosquitoes? I'm giving you about 5 seconds to answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding, 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 ding. Let's pull up those results, Christine. Ooh, Dr. Lowe, what do you have to say about those results?
I think that people have learned a lot from this webinar, or they're bringing their citizen science knowledge already to this group. But yeah, only a very few types of mosquitoes actually cause disease. So if you get bitten by a mosquito, there's no cause for alarm, but it's really important to protect yourself. So be sure to use bug repellent when you go outside, and also cover your body by wearing long shirts and long pants if you know it's mosquito season, because you will just be more comfortable. And in the event that there is a bad mosquito out there that could make you sick, you'll be protected. All right.
Awesome, thank you.
So now, before we finish up now, we're going to do the official citizen scientist mosquito quiz. And you're bringing your own knowledge, observations, and experience, and you're sharing with our community. And so we've got a quiz for you, and we want to see who gets this right? And hopefully we'll all learn just a little bit. So let's go to the next slide. True or false? Mosquitoes are less active during a full moon.
So here's where we want everyone to enter in the chat, either T or F to play. Please enter T or F. What do you think? Looks like we've got a T here. What does everybody else say? We've got a false. We've got several falses now. What's the answer, Dr. Lowe?
False. Mosquitoes are less active during a full moon. But a full moon can increase mosquito activity up to 500% in one study. Now, I can't say, scientists know a lot. We don't know everything, and I don't know the answer to why this is. So this is something that people need to research, and that's why we need more scientists every day. Okay, LPI, do you know the answer to that question?
No clue.
No clue. Good. Okay. Here's a question that's really interesting. Think about it. Do mosquitoes tend to prefer clean water when they lay their eggs, or dirty water when they lay their eggs? Is the water usually clean, or is it somewhat cloudy, or is it brown? Let's hear your answer.
We've got a false here. What does everybody else say? Got another false. We've got a few falses here.
All right, great. Let's see the answer. And the answer is false. So, we know that, for instance, with malaria mosquitoes, they tend to prefer clear water. But now what we're seeing is they're adapting to the presence of dirtier water. The same with some of the mosquitoes that we have out in South America that are causing diseases like Zika. They used to like more clear water, and now we're finding them in sewers. So really any kind of water is going to be a potential habitat for mosquitoes, but different mosquitoes have different preferences. So it's a little bit of a trick question. Next one. Mosquito bites, especially those from mosquitoes who are vectors of disease, that means mosquitoes who can make people sick, they mostly bite at dusk and in the evening. Now, this is also another tricky question.
We've got a true.
Mm-hmm.
What does everybody else think? We've got a false. Anyone else want to hazard a vote? A true? So we're kind of divided here.
And that's, I think, a really good sign, because our science of this is changing. So, for instance, the mosquitoes that tend to bite malaria and transmit malaria, also those mosquitoes that tend to transmit things like West Nile virus in the US, they tend to bite at night. And so the word has always been, be sure to protect yourself, especially in the evening. And I know that as a kid growing up, when it became dusk and I was out playing, they would begin to bite, right? But now there are new mosquitoes that are now in the US. They are invasive mosquitoes, and surprisingly, they are most active during the day. And some of these also can transmit diseases. So this poses a new problem for those mosquito public health officials that we have, whose job is to protect us from disease. It's not just at night now. So you got to be careful all the time. Now, here's a question. Light clothing is more attractive to many species of mosquitoes. Is this true or is this false? So if you want to protect yourself, put on some light clothes. Or not.
We have a couple of false votes. Give everybody a couple more seconds. There's another false vote.
Good. And that's the answer is false. So you guys are all 100% aware of this. Dark clothing does attract some species of mosquitoes more than light clothing. And I think that's because they can't really see the light clothing, whereas they can see dark. So wearing light colored clothing can provide a little bit of added protection from mosquito bites. So you might want to think about that when you go out and play outside and you know that there's mosquitoes coming. Okay, this is a good one. Smelly feet attract some species of mosquitoes.
Uh-oh.
Anybody want to hazard a guess? Okay, we got a couple answers here.
Couple people have said true.
Very good. Okay, let's see the answer. Yes. And why is it? I mean, it's probably not just socks, but what happens is the mosquitoes, the biting moms, they have chemoreceptors. They have receptors that can smell different kinds of chemicals. And so mosquitoes are attracted to the smell of the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. That's how they actually can find an organism that they can bite to get a blood meal. They can also find sweat. And if you work out and you build up some lactic acid and you get sort of, you get pains in your muscles, some of that lactic acid is also comes out through your pores, and they can smell that as well. So yeah, it's true. They do like smells. Here's a good one. Mosquitoes locate their hosts by sound and radar, just like bats.
What do people think? We've got a couple of falses. We've got a true.
Okay, next one. And that's false. So they do it. They do not use radar, but what they do, they use sight because they can detect movement, and they can also detect infrared radiation from warm bodies and also those chemical signals. So they can do that from really long distances. How about that? From even 25 meters away, they can find you. So that's why sometimes you think you're safe and they find you every time. That's why. They are just beautiful. True or false? Depending on the species, some mosquitoes fly more than 40 miles to obtain a blood meal.
We've got one false, one true.
Okay. And
Another
the
false?
answer is true. There are some mosquitoes, and notably the salt marsh mosquitoes, they might fly more than 40 miles to get their blood meal. But other mosquitoes, like the ones that live in containers, they might fly only 100 meters in their lifetime. And that is why you can actually protect yourself by getting rid of these containers, dumping water out, and being a citizen scientist, because you can actually get rid of the places for those mosquitoes locally, so you have fewer of those bad mosquitoes that can cause disease. Okay, I think this might be one of the last ones or the last one. Female mosquitoes tend to bite smaller people. So Dash might be in more danger than Ashley. Is that true? We have some answers here. Okay, false and a true. It's false. Females tend to find the bigger people because they produce more carbon dioxide and they are able to sense more chemicals. So Dash, you're safer than your mom when you go outside right now. Although I know you do. Oh, there you go. But I know you do get bit a lot by mosquitoes. So have some pity on your mom because she's getting bit more. All right.
Dr. Lowe, we have a question that was entered a few minutes ago.
Sure.
And this was about the moon and mosquitoes. And it said, so on April 26th, we will have a full pink moon. How will this impact activity for mosquitoes compared to, say, 2012 or the 2016 full pink moon? Any ideas?
So once again, these are questions I have to refer to the scientists at LPI. We know that a lot of organisms have relationships with the lunar cycle, including humans. And one of the things that we don't really understand is exactly the mechanism for that. And I would say it probably doesn't matter if it's a pink moon or if it's a harvest moon or if it's a bright white moon. I think that it's really the cycle that they are responding to, not the light. But I am really out on a limb there. And scientists don't know all the answers. That's why we keep needing scientists, right? So it's a great question, and I'm sorry you stumped me, but you get a point for stumping the scientists. That's good.
Ms. Sherelle Webb, it looks like we've got some other questions being entered in the chat if you would like to ask them and follow up with Dr. Lowe on them.
Okay, since I'm sharing, I can barely.
You know what? I can
pull
see them.
up.
I can see
Okay.
them. So there was a question here. Any difference of biting between male and female humans? Do mosquitoes prefer men versus women, boys versus girls?
And the answer is only in the sense that men tend to be larger than females, only in the sense that I think a female athlete of the same size as a male might be bit more often than the male. So no,
wow.
it really isn't because of male or female, but it is because of sexual dimorphism, right? And also what people do during the day. So that's a really great question, but that one I can answer.
The bigger you are, the more likely you are to be bitten. All right. Do mosquitoes prefer certain blood types over others?
Oh, yes.
Excellent
That is
question.
another good question. And they've done research on this, and it seems to be that for whatever reason, the smells that are created by people who have type O blood tend to be more often bitten than those that don't have that type of blood. Once again, there probably is a chemical reason for that I'm not aware of. But yes, there is a difference apparently.
Awesome. And
Wow.
is there any association with flu or cover? Okay, any association between like the flu or COVID and mosquitoes?
Oh, I love that question because it's a really, really good one. And the answer is there is no transmission of COVID or flu by mosquitoes. So you're completely safe there. But there is a relationship, and it's kind of tricky because we have, our municipalities have money for public health, right? And what's happened with the COVID-19 pandemic is those monies have had to go to the most serious threat. And right now, that most serious threat is COVID, which means that a lot of the mosquito mitigation work that's been done around the world has been done at a reduced level, just because there's only so much money. So that is the relationship. There is a relationship, and we're seeing increases in malaria because of COVID, but it's not because the mosquitoes themselves can transmit the disease. So I want to thank whoever asked that question. That's a really great one.
Awesome. And is there a diet that helps deter mosquitoes? If we eat different foods, does it keep them away? Does garlic keep them away?
Wow, I love that question. And the answer is, I cannot come up with a definitive answer on that because no one's ever asked me that before. So you've given me some homework. I do know that, for instance, in history, there was, for instance, when there was a great big pandemic, a mosquito dengue pandemic, in the early years of this nation in the late 1700s, the folk cures were to chew a lot of garlic and to drink a lot of vinegar. I don't know the the effectiveness of those particular treatments. I'm thinking there probably is a relationship because of the chemoreceptors that these organisms have, but I don't know which way it worked. It could be that it made them more attractive. So this is something I'm going to research out, and maybe next time I meet with you guys, I'll have that answer. Great questions. There are two people that stumped the scientists. That's great.
And there's one final question. I think we have time for one final one. Does the B complex deter mosquitoes?
Does the what?
The B complex. I'm not quite sure what that's with relationship to, though. The B complex.
B complex vitamins?
Oh, vitamins. Yes, exactly. Do B vitamins, do they deter mosquitoes?
Yeah. So if they do, and I don't know the answer to that one either. So now there's strike 3 for Rusty. I'm out, right? But it would once again happen to, it would have to do with, how do the B vitamins make you smell? What kinds of things come out of your pores and into your sweat, and do those things attract mosquitoes? So these would be these are things that you could actually do experiments on and figure out for yourself in your role as a citizen scientist. So I hope maybe some of you will come up with these answers. So thank you so much for these great questions. What a fun time I've had today.
That was awesome. Thank you guys for submitting those awesome questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Lowe, for taking a stab at it. And as you're absolutely right, we don't know everything, and so that's why we need all of you to pitch in. All right. So this is the next slide. You want to go ahead and start from here, Dr. Lowe?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you are interested in learning more about mosquitoes, we have a lot of really nice materials. They're not made for classrooms or teachers. They're made for anybody at home that wants to learn something about it. So we have some really fun cootie catchers that you can make, which are like question and answer quizzes. We have the Zika-zine that you've seen some of the adventures of these 3 mosquitoes portrayed in this talk. If you want to learn more about diseases, we have a little disease guide. There's some activities, how to build your trap. And then something I'd really like to highlight is we have a Mission Mosquito Science Notebook that has several installments in it. So if you want to learn about mosquitoes sort of step by step, there's a lot of really fun activities and some beautiful art in there. So you can learn a lot about insects and about mosquitoes and about taxonomy and about science and about the environment. So please go and take a look at that. And here are all the links. And I think these links are also going to be shared by my team at the LPI, but this is where you can find all these things. And here's the last thing. In August, we're going to be asking citizen scientists from all over the world to make a special push to make observations, because we are working with scientists that need this data They are scientists that are working with the National Science Foundation and scientists that are working with the NASA ROSES program. And so please, please download that app and make a few observations and be part of our team. All right.
All righty, so this is the time now. We have one more poll to launch, and we ask for everyone to participate, please. And thank you, Christine. We're just going to give you a few seconds to go ahead and read through the last 3 evaluation questions, and tell us what you think about our program.
And while we're looking at those, we've had a couple of questions come in from the YouTube channel as well. Dr. Lowe, do you have any recommendations about particular clothes or plants that would be best against mosquitoes? Plants that might keep mosquitoes away, clothes that would be best protection against mosquitoes?
You know, there is a lot of stuff on the internet that you can look for that. But yes, we have, we know for a fact that mosquitoes can sense dark colors better than light colors. So please cover up with light clothes. Please, you know, wear long sleeves and long pants, wear socks, protect yourself that way. Use a repellent. We recommend using a repellent with a DEET or I think it's permethrin. These are both compounds that have been approved by the FDA as being safe to protect yourself from mosquitoes. And as far as biological deterrents, there's actually a lot of nice work that's being done by citizen scientists on this topic. I grew up with citronella candles on our patio when we had dinner every night as a kid, sort of a lemony kind of smelling plant. I've seen them growing at Home Depot. Those plants really do provide a scent that repels mosquitoes. I know that basil is another plant that repels mosquitoes. So there is quite a little bit of an arsenal there. You could actually plant a garden around your terrace where you like to eat, for instance, or put plants on your table to keep those mosquitoes a little bit far away. So yeah, there are some things that you can do as well. So those are great questions. Thank you.
Well, that is magnificent. I see a question in Q&A. Was that the same one, Christine, that we answered? Oh, it was about the pink moon. All right. Thank you so much. Well, we have come to the end of our virtual program. We would like to give a great round of applause to Ashley and Dash. Thank you guys so much for being our interactive family on today. We welcome you back to all of you're absolutely welcome. We welcome you back to all of our other virtual programs. If you are interested in being alerted about the programs, please head over to the LPI, the Lunar and Planetary Institute webpage, where you have events, and it is VEEPS. You can join our newsletter where you will get a notification of all of our future programs. We want to thank you again, and a special thank you to Dr. Rusty Lowe for bringing us all of your expertise using the Globe app. And we encourage all of you, be that citizen science. We need you. We need you. The world or the earth could not be like it is without you. So we need to improve it because it's the only home that we have. So again, guys, thank you so very much for joining us today. We thank you for all your participation with the poll questions. Bye, and have a magnificent evening. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.